What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about the ABR and two attachments that have been slept on that turn this gun into a surgically precise monster. The ABR, if you don't already know, it was pretty meta a few weeks ago. Got some slight nerfs. It's fallen out of the meta a little bit. It's not up there with the Kilo and the Kilo and the Kilo. If you're playing Warzone today, you're probably using the Kilo. But if you're looking for something fun to spice things up and want to give the ABR another visit, we're going to break down some things. I'm going to teach you how to build the ABR properly. I'm going to talk to you about two really good sleeper attachments for this gun that nobody even used. And I remember I watched a lot of the meta videos back in the day, and people have all these different meta class setups for the ABR, but nobody ever, like, one of them might have got talked about a couple times, but this last one, I guarantee you nobody's talked about. So let's hop into it. So basically what I've got up here is how you're going to start building out every AR. We've got the gain twist barrel, which is going to increase our bullet velocity up to 1203. You want that for Verdansk because it's going to make your bullets feel more like hit scan. Nothing else is really going to do too much for your standard ABR build. Some people like reinforced barrels on other guns because you get a little bit more damage range, but for this gun specifically, I think bullet velocity is the way to go. Extended mag 2, you're always going to want that just for the extra ammo. 60 round drum. Now this is where the build gets interesting because you got 3 more attachments to use. So what I would prefer, as far as optics go, people have all their preferences for optics, but the RNK multi-zoom personally is the foundation of this build, and it's going to really segue really well into the attachments we're going to talk about, and we're going to break down some recoil patterns and stuff for you too. The only thing with the RNK multi-zoom is that the default reticle, look at this is ass, okay? So you actually have to grind it out, get 50 kills while ADSing in Warzone with the RNK multi-zoom, and then you can finally get this reticle, which it's way better. All right, so now we got the RNK multi-zoom. So now you're like, well, what are the next two attachments? You see people talking about, well, we need a muzzle. We want to put the monolithic suppressor on, get extra damage range and bullet velocity. That would be viable. And then for other attachments, people say use the recoil springs, stock, underbarrels. There's a really good underbarrel here. All right, but before we get into it, we gotta hop into the firing range so I can show you like the recoil pattern. So this is the default ABR. Wait, hold on, did I put something on here? 1 second, boys. What the heck? Why is it showing a... Oh, it's just a barrel. I thought there was a muzzle attachment. Anyways, hopping back in, my fault. So as you can see, the ABR by default, here, we'll take a look at the one burst pattern a couple times. But as you can see, like wherever you aim it, and this is with like no modifications to the recoil, this thing really doesn't move. Like you can see, we got our 3 burst. Sometimes there's a little bit of a jump between the first bullet and the next 2 bullets. It's kind of a little bit of a big jump. It's not the tightest spread. And this was just me spamming in like one side. But if you see, your reticle doesn't actually go up. You kind of just keep recentering. So as long as you're staying on target, you really don't have to pull down at all, which is why this gun feels super surgical. So now what are the best attachments to improve this and to make this tighter? And also I want to point out, let me zoom in with this scope. So the thing with the multi-zoom is you get a 3x zoom, and then you also can get a 7x, which really turns this into a sniper. And as you can see, like even with the 7x, it's really not hard to control the recoil at all. And you basically have like almost a sniper scope on this gun, which is why I say it's so precise. But now if we look here, look at the scope, you kind of see how it's like bouncing side to side, more noticeable when we zoom in. And even on the 3x zoom, you can see we still have a little bit of idle sway. What that translates to is like when you're shooting people far away, like you see all this idle sway, like if I shot my gun there and my gun moved to the left, my bullets would whiz by the chest. So it's like wherever I'm aiming, the bullets are kind of just going off in their own directions. As you can see, I like went off to the side there. And that's kind of how idle sway messes up your recoil. Even though there's really no recoil on this gun, the fact that the scope is moving is actually messing up our recoil pattern a little bit. Probably won't show it here just because we're kind of close. But you might see one of these might be a little more to the right or the left. Not quite. This affects your aim more over ranges, which is the problem with some of the bigger zoom scopes. But now there's a way to fix this, and we'll go into our 2 attachments that I promised you earlier, guys. So we'll go back to loadouts, and this is probably the 5 attachment ABR build I'd recommend for everybody. But if you want to use a 8 attachment build, I'll show you that too. So the underbarrels, this is where we get the hidden gem, guys. Lightweight foregrip. reduces aiming idle sway by 60%. Let's pop this on, and then we already know that our recoil pattern is 1 shot and then a little space and then 2-shot burst. So you're thinking, what is going to help with that pattern? It's not really horizontal. There's no side-to-side bounce, so we really do not need a vertical foregrip at all. This will do 0 for this gun. Don't use a vertical foregrip. There's recoil springs. They will help a little bit. You'll get 15% all around to gun kick, horizontal, vertical recoil control. And then there's ported compensator, which is our compensator, which is, you know, just recoil, gun kick, and vertical recoil control. But then you have the ported compensator, which reduces first shot recoil by 45%. And remember, we had that first bullet, and then we had a jump, and then our next 2 bullets. So this decreases that jump by 45%, which makes the ported compensator one of the best attachments to use on the ABR for recoil control, because it's going to make that pellet spread even tighter and make it even more surgical. So we're going to use a ported compensator. And now let's go into the trial range. And now, first of all, let's look here at the scope. Remember? Here, let me go in at max zoom. You remember how we had all that idle sway? Do you see the scope moving much? It's negligible, guys. And then we have our resets. Granted, you're gonna have a little more visual recoil when you're on the max zoom, but really, once you get used to it, it's really not hard. And then on the 3x, there's not one drip of idle sway on this gun. And now let's check out the recoil pattern. So these were without the ported compensator. Now we'll shoot a couple with the ported compensator. Try to line it up. And now we have our first 3 and our next 3. Let's see how much tighter this is. Look at how much tighter this is, guys. You don't have this weird jump between the first bullet and the next 2 bullets. It's kind of just, you might have a little bit of a jump, but look how tight these first 2 shots get. Sometimes the third shot might go up a little bit, but right here, look at that. The third shot, for some reason, everything was just right on top of each other. And that is significantly tighter than this. And in close range, it's not going to make the most difference. But if you're trying to beam people far away, you want that recoil pattern to be as tight as possible. So 5 attachment build, guys. Let me break it down for you. Then I'll show you the 8 attachment ABR I'd recommend you use if you want to try out. For the 5 attachment ABR I like to use this RNK multi-zoom with that optic I told you about, ported compensator, gain twist barrel, lightweight foregrip, and extended mag 2. If you really don't mind the recoil, like I said, there's really not much to begin with, and you want to stay off the minimap, stay suppressed, you can swap out the ported compensator for a monolith suppressor and get more damage range and bullet velocity. But seems like the sweet spot build. And if you want to go crazy and use an 8 attachment ABR loadout, I like to pair this with the SOG, but you can really use whatever SMG you want. Hard to go wrong there. This is my shock trap, blast trap loadout. I run my little stall traps. I like to shoot unsuppressed and trap buildings and hopefully bait people to come and push my traps. All right, you don't have to steal that part. We're talking about ABRs today, but if you like that kind of play style, have fun with it, man. Then for the 8 attachment ABR, we decide to go with the quick draw riser for a little bit of extra ADS speed. If you want, you could go with commando, combat. I think quick draw gives you the most here. For the stock, you want the combat stock that's going to give you some flinch resistance while you're aiming, since you're basically using this gun as like a, not quite a sniper, but it's more sniper than any of the ARs in my opinion. Like most of the ARs kind of start to struggle around 60-70 meters, but with the ABR you can get some 70-80 meter kills that will surprise you. Even one time I got a last hit on a guy who was 160 meters away. Now, I didn't do all the damage to him. My teammate had sniped him, but I did manage to get like 1 or 2 bullets off just to get the down, and that was pretty satisfying. And then for our last attachment, we use the recoil springs to tighten up that spread even more, and that is the 8 attachment ABR class setup. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new today about the ABR, and let me know how you feel about it. Try it out. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. I think that's what I'm supposed to say. I haven't made YouTube videos in a hot minute, but I'm getting back in the swing of things. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.